But let's define terms now. Milk, 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 milk. What do you mean, milk? Brother Dr. Wesley. And because there are different meanings of that term, that is confusing the public discourse. There are three terms that I want to distinguish for my purposes, for our purposes. Pure milk, raw milk, and commercial milk. These three things are not synonymous. And it's critically important that we understand the difference in what we are talking about when we say drink milk or don't drink milk. Pure milk, raw milk, commercial milk. Three different categories of milk as I discuss milk. Pure milk. What is pure milk? Pure milk is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Most High, in his book, the Holy Quran, pure milk is what he prescribes for us to drink. Allah says, surely there is a lesson for you in the cattle. We, Allah, the gods, the black gods, we provide you to drink out of that which is in their bellies, between the waist and the blood. Pure milk, Laban Halis, pure milk, which is a palatable drink for those who take it. Allah, 1400 years ago, described pure milk. He prescribed it for us as a provision for us to drink. Allah did. Not Brother Wesley. Allah did. Prescribed milk and gave milk as a provision for us to drink, palatable for those who take it. The milk he describes, Laban Halis, pure milk. What is pure milk? Pure milk would be milk from healthy cows that are fed on healthy and clean herbage and are allowed to pasture under the natural sun in their natural habitat. Milk that has not been artificially processed. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, quote, indeed, Allah Most High did not create a disease except that he created for it a cure. So upon you is cow's milk, for indeed it ruminates upon every herbage, end quote. That's heavy. Prophet Muhammad is telling us from Allah that Allah created a cure for every disease and that we should drink cow milk, for in cow's milk is cure for us. Why? It gives us important qualification, this important scientific note. It says, for indeed it ruminates upon every herbage. The curative and nutritional qualities of milk is at least in part based on the quality of the food that the cow consumes, because the greenery, the vegetation There are cures in the vegetation. And when a healthy cow pastures on clean herbage, it consumes the curative properties of the herbage, of the plants, and it becomes a part of its milk. And when we consume pure milk, we benefit from the curative and nutritional properties of the milk that it acquired from the clean, natural herbage. That's Allah's word to us. And I am not inclined to disagree with Allah, though he gives us the right to, obviously. That's pure milk. That is to be distinguished, that is not to be conflated with raw milk. Pure milk versus raw milk versus conventional milk or commercial milk. And this is an important point. Dear family, natural milk is a storehouse of nutrients, a rich source of proteins, vitamins, and minerals. However, commercial milk is a bag of pus. We are not in disagreement with you. Commercial milk, mastitis, infected udders, producing pussy somatic cells. Commercial milk is filled with dead white cells and pus. You and us are on the exact same page when it comes to commercial milk, which is 90 to 99% of the milk made easily accessible to the people. We are not in disagreement. Cows that live in open air life and graze on green pastures outdoor, and they receive sunlight, thus producing a good amount of natural vitamin A and vitamin D. And they receive the nutritional benefit of feeding on the green pasture, fresh green leaves under natural illumination. Those green leaves possess vitamin D, which the cows consume when they graze naturally. That's a natural cow that can produce good milk, but that's not what we're buying in the grocery store. What are we buying in the grocery store? We're buying poison. We agree with you. The milk from the grocery store is from factory farms, a most unnatural operation. At factory farms, these cows are not allowed to graze and soak up sunlight. That's why they have minimal vitamin D in the milk, which is why commercial milk has to be supplemented with vitamin D, but commercial milk isn't supplemented with vitamin D, it's supplemented with synthetic vitamin D. Commercial milk is poison. Dairy cows on these factory farms that produce most of the commercial milk, they spend their lives in dark indoor stalls or crowded feedlots. They are kept constantly pregnant via artificial insemination. I'll get to that later. They are mechanically milked. And this process strains the udders, and this is why there's so much infection among factory farm cows, and that infection produces these dead somatic cells and all of this pus. Yeah, that's right. These cows are not fed. They're not allowed to graze on natural, healthy, curative herbage. Instead, they are fed GMO, winter feed, and fed soy. So their diet is poison. The dairy cow of the factory farm produces 6 to 7 times more milk than what is produced by a natural cow, because this milk is produced by horrific, unnatural processes. Pregnant cows carry the double burden of carrying the next calf and producing large quantities of milk, because they are milked throughout 7 of their 9 months of pregnancy. Their secretory organs are overused, not given, because of artificial insemination, not allowed its natural rest period or dry period. So normal cows can live 25 to 30 years, but factory farm cows live only around 5 years. Commercial milk is poison. We agree with you. We have never been on the opposite side of that truth. You just need to listen to us more thoroughly and more carefully. We are not advocates of this poison commercial milk. My discussion about the weaponization of milk gives context to how commercial milk became poison. And we teach, stay away from the poison milk, just like you do. But pure milk, raw milk, and commercial milk, they are different categories of milk. I mentioned the weaponization of milk. You know, milk helps increase, good milk helps increase testosterone, but this milk out here is increasing estrogen. I know that milk has natural estrogen in it, but I also know that because of our first pass mechanism, the first pass mechanism is a mechanism in our liver that when we consume things and they have chemicals such as hormones, the food and those hormones are deactivated in our liver before they appear in our bloodstream. The liver neutralizes or deactivates or minimizes the bioavailability of estrogen. So normal natural milk, while it has estrogen in it, is not a threat to us because it has no real biological effect, because it goes through first pass metabolism and is denatured. So while I knew milk had estrogen, I also knew that it was neutralized, so it's not a problem. But there is a estrogen problem. In traditional societies, a healthy bull impregnates a healthy cow who is pregnant for 9 months. After the calf is born, the cow is milked by the farmer until 3 months after the calf is weaned from its mother. Cows are milked for around 5 months and only during the first trimester of pregnancy in traditional societies. They are milked only during the first trimester of pregnancy, never during the last trimester of pregnancy, because it is during the last trimester of pregnancy where estrogen and progesterone levels are astronomically high. During pregnancy, cows' ovaries secrete progesterone and her placenta secretes estrogen. In normal cow milk, there are minimal hormonal effects from these naturally occurring estrogen and progesterone because of that first pass metabolism mechanism that we described. The natural amount of these hormones in natural milk does not injure or alter our biochemistry. However, the first pass metabolism mechanism can be overpowered if we are exposed to an excessive amount of this hormone or chemical. It can overwhelm our first pass metabolism, and enough of the chemical will survive that mechanism to affect our biochemistry. In American commercial milk, which is obtained from the late stage of pregnancy in cows, the estrogen and progesterone levels skyrocket. According to 2010 Japanese study, commercial milk drawn from American cows increases in its drinker serum estrogen and progesterone in men. It increases the estrogen in men. Natural milk with its natural estrogen levels doesn't do that. But American commercial milk increases the estrogen and progesterone in men, women, and children, and it lowers testosterone in men via negative feedback mechanism. So commercial milk, the weaponized milk, increases in men unnaturally high levels of estrogen, and it diminishes a man's testosterone. Non-pregnant cows have 30 picograms per milliliter of estrone sulfate, which is an estrogen compound. Non-pregnant cows have 30 picograms per milliliter of estrone sulfate. Pregnant cows during the first trimester have 151 picograms per milliliter. Cows during the last trimester of pregnancy have 1,000 picograms per milliliter of estrogen. So non-pregnant cows has 30 picograms, and if we milk from non-pregnant cows, we are exposed to 30 picograms per milliliter. But if our milk is drawn from last trimester pregnant cows, which most of the commercial milk is, instead of being exposed to 30 picograms per per milliliter of estrogen, we are exposed to 1,000 picograms per milliliter of estrogen. Consuming this high estrogen milk, the estrogen is absorbed by us, and it suppresses the release of gonadotropin hormones in our brain, which then suppresses the synthesis of testosterone. These estrone sulfate in the body converts to the most potent form of estrogen, estradiol, which has now been recognized as a carcinogen, a cancer causer. So American commercial milk is a contributor to prostate and testicular cancer in men, and breast, ovarian, and uterine cancers in women. And how do they achieve this? By keeping the cow pregnant for 300 days of the year. How do they do that? By artificially inseminating the cow only 3 months after it has given birth. Cows are, in these factory farms, are milked 10 months a year. 10 months a year, factory farm cows are milked. And they, including 7 of the 9 months of pregnancy. And they achieve this by artificially inseminating the cow 3 months after it has given birth. So the average dairy cow, farm cow, is pregnant and lactating 300 days a year. So that's how this milk is so commercial milk. 90% of the milk is so carcinogenic, cancer causing, and it's cancer causing, it's feminized, it's commercial milk is cancer causing and gender neutering. We agree with you. We are not over here advocates of the consumption of this commercial milk produced from these factory farms. It's not, milk isn't naturally poison. The poison milk is weaponized milk. And when did this happen? So listen to these words, quote, from these reports. Wide adoption of artificial insemination in U.S. dairy herd began in the 1970s. In another report, quote, exposure to exogenous or excess estrogen through intake of commercial milk produced from pregnant cows has spread around the world since the 1970s. So How to Eat to Live is produced in 1968, and the messenger of God says to the black men and women, drink plenty of milk. And those Jews, those two Jews, created the myth that black people are lactose intolerant, so don't drink milk. But God says drink milk. These two Jews said to black people, don't drink milk. And lobbied for the government to cease making milk available to black children. At that time, milk was still relatively okay, but then in the 70s, right after the publication of this, the use of artificial insemination to keep these cows pregnant and lactating 300 days of the year, thus astronomically increasing the estrogen and progesterone levels in the milk that we consume, that when we consume it, it increases our estrogen and progesterone and diminishes our testosterone. The weaponization of this commercial milk. The chronology suggests that it's directly a response to the publication of the words of God to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad.